Behind the Shades.
We live in a society where we want things immediately. We want a quick fix. We want a pill to take. And we're dealing with 3 kids in sports, so we're going through drive-throughs, or when we're not taking the time to map out our week, right? And when you do those daily lifestyle things, it's not going to be an overnight shift, and that can feel frustrating because it takes time doing those things consistently to really get the benefit of them. If you do it once a week, you're not going to see the benefit, right? But it's a matter of planning out your week. When I map out my week on my planner, I have okay, here's my work tasks. Here's so-and-so's got a doctor's appointment. My other kid's got a baseball game or whatever. And I look at my calendar and say, okay, where on this day, on Monday, I have this, I have a 10-minute break here and I have a 30-minute break here. And I plan it out, map it out, because I don't know anyone that's just sitting around eating bonbons all day, waiting to make these shifts. Everyone's busy. Most people are somewhat overwhelmed by their schedules. And so there's that saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? And so it's about taking on a Sunday, take 30 minutes with your planner and integrate in those rest and play activities with your schedule. Pick one aspect of your health to start shifting. So when I'm designing health rebuilding roadmaps for people, typically based on functional lab work that shows all the biochemical stressors in their body, but when I'm creating that, we do it based on the DRESS acronym, which is diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and then therapeutic supplementation when warranted by lab works. I'm not one of those people that just fling supplements at someone, because that's not going to do any good. And so diet, if you want to start with diet, gluten, dairy, corn, sugar, they're some of the most inflammatory foods out there. Pick one and reduce it. See how you feel. Or you can go Whole30 or start eating paleo. Maybe it's just sugar. Maybe you need to actually have a very good conversation with yourself. When I am stressed out, how am I coping? Am I coping with sugar? Am I coping with a food addiction? Am I coping with late night, Netflix binges so I'm not taking care of my sleep? Am I coping with Amazon shopping? We have to be honest with ourselves. And coping truly is, we might think like, well, I'm gonna, that I'm not going to let that person talk to me that way, or I'm not going to, it's all about, people think it's about somebody else, but it's not. Self-care, boundaries, coping is about what I am going to do. What is my response going to be? How am I choosing to take care of myself? And when we stop making it about somebody else, that puts the responsibility back on us, which can feel scary. It's easy to not take care of yourself when it's somebody else's fault, when it's, when you're focusing on everyone else around you, but it's no one's responsibility but your own. And so start mapping it out. Choose one of the categories. Is it movement? Some people are like, I don't really like to exercise. I don't want to go to the gym and lift weights. Don't go on a hike, take a dance class, garden. Find a way to move your body that lights you up, that feels really good. For me, one of the biggest aspects of my mental health is walking. I go for walks. I go for a walk daily, ideally, because that makes me feel so good. So it's just a matter of starting with one thing, taking responsibility. Again, it's what I am going to do, and know that there's no such thing. If you want long-term better health, there's no such thing as a magic pill to take. It doesn't exist unless you just want to be on pharmaceuticals all the rest of your life to manage some diagnosed condition, which I don't think anybody really wants to do.
For me, as I got older, I realized that my self-care routine was changing.
Okay.
Right? Because I required different activities to get where I wanted? Is that something that you go through with your clients as well, where it's adapting versus it being this fixed thing? Do
Yes.
this, do this, do this, and you continue forward?
Yeah, 100%. I'm 44 years old. When I was 30, my self-care looked different from 35. Then it looks different than I'm 44. And I think when you make your self-care routine a strict, rigid thing, that in of itself becomes a stressor, right? People are like, okay, I have to do 30 minutes of self-care a day. And if I don't, then I'm going to be failing at life. No, don't do that to yourself. I have my clients make what's called a self-care buffet. And it's a PDF I send them. And it's where you can list low energy activities, medium energy activities, and high energy activities. And I say in the morning, check in with yourself. Ask yourself, what would make me feel really good today? Is it a low energy activity? Is it going to sit, and outside and feeling the breeze on your face? Is it going for a walk? Is it like having a dance party in the kitchen with your kids? What is it? And it can be this fluid thing. If you make it this rigid concept, you're going to stop doing it. It's going to stop being fun. It should be fun. It should be delightful. And, that's why I like the idea of making that list, because just like when you're thinking, you're driving, like, oh, I want to eat at that restaurant. Oh, that restaurant looks good. But as soon as someone says, hey, where do you want to go eat? They're like, I have no idea. I can't think of any places. Right. And so if you have that list already made for you, or that you've made for yourself, you have it to pull from, and it doesn't have to be like a huge thinking activity. And self-care should change. My self-care when I was single and with no kids is different than, being married for almost 20 years and having 3 kids. And that's okay. And it can vary from week to week. Don't put yourself in the self-care box. It doesn't have to be that way. It should be flexible. It should be fluid. It should grow as you grow, right? As you start biohacking your lifestyle, yeah, maybe it started out with a 10-minute walk, and maybe a year later you're doing a 10-mile hike. Your self-care activities should grow as you grow.
And you mentioned a good point where you said that from different stages in your life, like we mentioned age, right? As you got older, but you also mentioned if you're in a relationship and if you're not in a relationship, it may change as well. Is a self-care that, if I were to look at it as someone that's not in a relationship,
Mhm.
can I have my self-care be, okay, this is a self-care I needed when I was single and free, versus, okay, I'm in a relationship now. How about I do a self-care with the person I'm in a relationship? Does that happen?
Oh, 100%. And I know for me personally, I'm a total introvert extrovert. I'm both. And it depends on the situation, right? And sometimes I am fueled by being with somebody else and spending that time. And sometimes I'm like, I need alone time. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just need to be by myself for a little while. And so right now, or at my phase of life, self-care activity, I was out for 2 hours at the park, playing ball with my kids. That was self-care for me because I'm outside, I'm in the sun, I'm moving my body, I'm playing with the kids. It's fun. A self-care activity, if say maybe you don't have kids, but you have a partner. It could be getting outside and going on a hike. It could be getting kayaks and kayaking on the lake. I think that it's although important to integrate in all the types. And again, it starts with a conversation. What makes me feel good? For me, I have found most often that play rejuvenates me more than rest, like taking a nap or something like that. I get more filled up. My serving bowl gets more filled up by going and hanging out with a friend than maybe taking a bath, right? So again, it doesn't have to be, self-care doesn't have to look a certain way. Make it look like you need it to look like. So if that's spending time with your partner after a long, busy week, if that's doing something fun with a kid, or if that's doing something alone because you need that alone time, then make it what you need. It's about you, And it, again, depending on your season of life, depending on your relationship status between single, kids, whatever, it doesn't have to be self-care. It doesn't have to be only about you or only with somebody else. You should have a variety of things to choose from.